Right, guys, race number 6. Here's the Group 1. Courtesy Ford, Manawatu size produce stakes. For the 2-year-olds, over the 1,400 metres, Dynastic, your $2.50 favourite. Maven Bell's been a little bit of a mover into $3.60 off an opening line of $4. Wolverine, $3.80 first up into this. Lickety Split, $7. Good win last time, beating the favourite. Best bestseller, speaking of challenge syndications, $15. Andalus, $26. Whitac, $31. Good win last time. The Racketeer, $41. Timeless, $60-1. And New Orleans Jazz, you're outsider here at $80-1. BP, the Karaka Millions winner. Dynastic heads this market, 2.5.
Yeah, look, it's a race where you've got the Sistema trifecta and then one of the favourites for the Karaka Million and Wolverine with where things sit at the top of the market around these 4 runners. Lickety Split, a horse who won the Sistema, has to jump from a barrier draw that makes it awkward, doesn't it, for her, where she's drawn out in barrier number 9, where her first 2 starts around Ellerslie. She had that opportunity of following the rail or close to it from barriers 1 and 2. So that will be her first test in her 3rd start to the races. And hence why we're probably seeing her quote at $7 and maybe not a touch tighter after beating home, a couple of her key rivals here in this race. Maven Bell was desperately unlucky in that race in the Sistema. She was a horse that there was an opportunity of maybe coming out and around and instead going through runners and was just a touch unlucky, wasn't she, Maven Bell? And she's been ultra impressive with what she's done this season. A couple of stakes victories, now a Group 1 placing, and now drawn barrier number 1, as opposed to her biggest rivals drawn out in 8 and 9, Dynastic and also Lickety Split. That's got to bring her right into the race, and we've already seen that movement in the marketplace to see her from $4 into $3.60. And then Wolverine, who we haven't seen since running second in the Karaka Million. This is a race I've identified for local trainer, and also a very good trial leading in. So, look, they are the obvious ones, aren't they? And then you've got Bestseller, who's the horse who bounces out of the Mudda Breeders when beaten in behind Maven Bell. It's a good race between those ones at the top of the market. You could almost run it a few times and almost get a different winner. So I think that's the beauty of this year's running of the size produce stakes. Yeah,
it's a little bit like that, no doubt. Aidan, initial thoughts here on the Group 1. Strong field up the top, certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's anything over those top 4. And then you've got to have respect around the next 2 as well, Bestseller and Andalus, on what they've done also. But what do you take out of the Sistema Stakes last time out? Do you say that maybe Dynastic might have been a touch underdone because he looked to have them shot to bits and then just peaked on his run and was a sitting duck, and we saw Lickety Split rip through on the inside and get the win? But maybe that's her. Maybe she's just a winner. She just wants to find the line and beat who's in front of her. I thought she led here actually from the outside draw. I thought that was their option to go forward. I've mapped her in front of Timeless and Dynastic. There's talk that certainly Dynastic has taken improvement from that run, because obviously you put what he did in the Karaka Million down as a yardstick to his ability, and he's got to be right there. The word from the stable on Tuesday morning was that he got towelled up by Maven Bell in Trackwork Gallop. He had been the other way on the Saturday, but 2 days later, or 3 days later, the filly had got the better of him. So I think they're expecting more from Maven Bell, who was luckless in that Sistema last time. Just we're needing to get going. Just was held up and wasn't that far away. She does look. The more you look into this race, you more say, well, she's well capable of winning it, and is maybe she the obvious horse in the race. So another thing I just went through last night, the last colt to win this race was back in 2007. So Dynastic does have that against him as well.
I read that tweet last night. That's an incredible stat, surely. I can't believe that. Who was it, 2007? Who was it, Aidan?
Yeah, Night Lion, who then went up to Hong Kong, and I think he was gelded before going up there, but he was unbeaten in New Zealand in 3 starts, and this was the last of them. I think it was Brendan Horton's only New Zealand Group 1 win. Of course, he was training in partnership with his dad, Keith, at the time, and from memory, I think Lynn, Keith's wife, had a share in the horse as well.
Oh, magic stuff. Right, well, BP, look, I sat in the meeting with the lads around this one, and the thing about Lickety Split was a couple of things. You mentioned them too. The gate was one that they thought was a bit bit iffy for it. Aidan might have ruled out that problem if it does go forward and try and lead. And the other one was exactly that. Dynastic might have that natural improvement, and Lickety Split maybe has found its mark. Do you buy that theory, or where do you sit with that theory?
Yeah, I think Dynastic is an obvious improver, isn't he? And getting more distance is going to be no issue for him, getting up to 1,400 metres. I mean, it's almost a bonus with what they're getting with him, this preparation, isn't it, with this 3-year-old colt by Al Manzour, because he just looks to be a horse who's going to be an even better 3-year-old over more distance. So taking that into account, and also that he was a runner that didn't have a run going into the Group 1. He had a trial on the 1st of March, as opposed to going through the Waikato Slipper, which is a line that which is a line that Te Ako have taken a number of times, using that race with their Karaka Million runner or winners to then use that as a springboard heading into the first Group 1 in the Sistema Stakes. So all that into consideration, I think he is the one that is going to be a big improver with 1,400 metres. I find it interesting that Aidan believes that Lickety Split can find that top position, because if she does, it does give her a great chance. And if she can find it without having to do too much work, look, she's drawn one from the outside, but gee, if she can find that forward and running position, boy, she was gutsy in defeat when winning in the Sistema. And you could almost think, well, how's a horse that won a Group 1 last start, who's unbeaten, paying $7? And the reason why is because you're up against a couple of runners from Te Ako who have performed well this season, winning a Karaka Million and Dynastic, and Maven Bell, who's won 2 stakes races and very good in that Group 1 also, and unlucky into 3rd position. So I think we've got the makers of a really good race in front of us here.
How the Turmy Loose is going as well, speaking of Lickety Split, Victoria Rock. Flying, aren't they? I do want to get your comments just quickly, both of you. You talk about Dynastic potentially being slightly underdone, guys, going into that race. Then where do we sit with Wolverine? Because this would be one heck of a training performance if Royden Burgesson can pull this off. We haven't seen it, obviously, since Karaka Million. I'll start with you, Aidan. What are your thoughts on Wolverine? It would be a heck of an effort, wouldn't it?
Yep, but she is high class. He was able to get a trial last week. The trial was excellent too. Robbie Hannam was aboard for that trial, and she came down centre track. Actually, the second horse in that trial went super. A horse of John O'Benner and Holly Wynyards. Want to find out where that's going next time as well. But Wolverine was good. I think it's kind of been dictated to. Obviously, the ownership's changed now, and this will be her last run in New Zealand. She's got to turn the tables first of all on Dynastic, who now has had the extra run. But she was excellent prior to that as well, and now she's on home territory. She doesn't have to travel, so there's a lot of upside to her, because she was good in the Wakefield, she was good in the Eclipse as well. She's a real contender. Royden Burgesson's done it before, a couple of Group 1 wins to his credit in the past, and now he gets a home track chance, which is something I'm sure he'll be really keen to grasp. Yeah,
BP, Wolverine, where do you sit?
Oh yeah, I mean she was the benchmark, wasn't she? Going into the Karaka Million. I mean, she really was. She was the horse that everybody was worried about, and with what she'd done so far, she was the dominant 2-year-old leading into that race. And the problem was that when she gets to the Karaka Million, she draws barrier number 12, and she was up against a Te Ako runner, and it only had one race day start. That was the anomaly in the race that we couldn't quite work out. But Opie Bossom was keen to ride Dynastic. So, look, she was the clear guide in the race, and I think this is a key race that they've identified for this new ownership group for Royden. She has to be a huge danger with, as Aidan said, her trial was so good. You have to go back to Melody Bell going from a Karaka Million run and then not running until this race. She's got a barrier draw. It'll be interesting to see what they want to do from her draw. Aidan, I'm keen to get your thoughts here around Dynastic, but what do you believe that Opie wants to do here with Dynastic, and especially with that speed that you're talking about coming from out wide? Is he a horse that can look to try and track and slide in?
Well, that's my quandary with the speed, is that there just doesn't seem to be any. So I'm sure Opie will want to be up there. I've got the horse, basically outside the trailer. So there's just no speed here, unless there's intent from maybe an outsider. Do we see Timeless push the button and go forward, or I don't know. There just doesn't seem to be a great deal of speed here. And being 2-year-olds stepping up to 1,400 metres for the first time, you know, they won't want to run them ragged. So if you can get into a spot, you know, it's a long time before we saw, you know, Luna Rossa come from, you know, off the screen and winning a race like this. So I think, you know, we'll see those horses take positions and be real advantage from being there. So Dynastic positive in the first 3 for mine, with Lickety Split. The other horse who's right there is Timeless, I think, can be in the trail. And then Wolverine is close. I think Wolverine can maybe potentially even get the 1-1 here. And if she does get a soft run, the softer the better for her. Like you say, she hasn't raced since Karaka a million time. Then she could be really potent at the finish of this.
Yeah, okay. That's very interesting about the map. You make a very good point about not wanting to bust a gut over the 1,400 metres. BP, surmise the size produce for us. If you're having a bet, how would you attack?
Look, Maven Bell drawn barrier number 1 was a massive asset for her chances, wasn't it? I mean, we've seen her take that position at Te Rapa and win and get across heels, and she's been devastating, you know, in all 3 of her victories, and things just didn't quite go to plan last time to the races. So I can understand the move from $4 to $3.60 because she's drawn 1 and with how unlucky she was. But is Dynastic just that horse that can be an improver again off what he did last time out to 1,400 metres and with Opie aboard? So I don't find much between those 2 horses. Yep. Dynastic just in front of Maven Bell. In fact, I don't find much over the 4 in the market, to be completely honest with you. Yep. If Lickety Split goes forward and finds that position, well, she's going to give herself every opportunity. We haven't talked much about Bestseller. They were very much more positive with her last time to the races when they, from a middle barrage, where they put her close to tempo, where we've seen her getting back and hitting the line strongly. She's a horse that's drawn in barrier number 4. I can't wait to see her as a 3-year-old filly. I think she's a horse that's got a lot of scope about her, and already what we've seen from her 3 race day starts. She could be the one away from those that are the 4 on the market, and maybe an Andalus that can be part of a trifecta in a first 4. If the race can be run for them. So Dynastic, just over Maven Bell.
Which way did you go, Aidan? It sounded like you might have been Maven Bell just.
Yeah, it would have been, but then you do what punters do and you look in the jockey column and you see Opie Boss in there. So in the end, you just default to Opie Boss, and he'll have this horse in the right spot and you'll get the best out of him. So in the end, despite everything telling me that this is Maven Bell's race, I've gone to the Opie factor and gone with Dynastic on top.
Well, they did it in the Karaka Million 2-year-old, didn't they, Aidan? And they got it.
They did.
Right.
It was his steer. He went for the maiden, got it bang on. Obviously, even Opie, I think, was thinking that the Maven Bell might have been the better of the 2 when I spoke to him on Tuesday after the track work. But he's sticking with Dynastic, and I think you've just got to put your faith in him.
Plenty will be, I have no doubt.